Rays of shimmering starlight filtered through the cracked viewport, casting a ghostly glow on Rika Solaris's scarred face. She leaned over the console, her short, silver hair floating weightlessly as she scrutinized the garbled transmission that had just arrived on the Celestial Gambit's mainframe. The mysterious coordinates and fragmented message were like a puzzle begging to be solved. "Kira!" Rika called out, her voice tinged with excitement. "Get in here! We've got something interesting!" Her daughter appeared in the doorway, long dark hair framing her intense blue eyes. Kira knew that tone in her mother's voice all too well. It was the precursor to another daring escapade. "Coordinates?" Kira asked, raising an eyebrow. "Where do they lead?" "Unknown," Rika replied. "That's what makes it so intriguing." She could see the curiosity sparking within Kira, mirroring her own insatiable thirst for adventure. "All right, get the crew together. We need to discuss this." The crew members filed into the dimly lit meeting room, each bringing their own unique perspective to the table. Rika presented the garbled transmission and the mysterious coordinates, watching as their eyes widened with interest. "Could be a trap," said Griff, the battle-hardened weapons specialist, his brow furrowing in suspicion. "Or a treasure trove," countered Cassia Vale, the ship's communications officer and navigator. She brushed back her fiery red hair, her green eyes glinting with greed. "Imagine the wealth we could amass if we're the first ones there." "Is it worth the risk?" Kira asked hesitantly. Her passion for exploration warred with her protectiveness towards the crew. "Risk is our middle name," Rika said with a grin, her eyes alight with the thrill of the unknown. "We've faced peril before and we'll face it again." "Besides," she continued, "we could use a big payday." Rika knew the promise of wealth would sway any lingering doubts among her crew. "All right," Kira said finally, determination settling into her features. "Let's do this." "Set a course towards the inky black void between galaxies," Rika commanded, her voice firm and resolute. As the Celestial Gambit's engines roared to life and the stars outside blurred into streaks of light, Rika couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together as a crew. And if there was one thing Rika Solaris was certain of, it was that they were destined for greatness. The inky black void stretched out before them, a vast chasm of emptiness that seemed to swallow both light and hope. Rika Solaris gripped the armrests of her captain's chair, her knuckles white as she stared at the view screen. The silence on the bridge was palpable, each crew member holding their breath as they ventured deeper into the uncharted territory. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange on our sensors," Cassia announced suddenly, breaking the tense quiet. "There's a gravitational anomaly directly ahead." "Define strange," Rika demanded, her brow furrowing as she turned to face her navigator. "Unusual fluctuations in gravity, like nothing I've ever seen before," Cassia replied, concern lacing her voice. "If we continue on our current course, the forces could tear the Celestial Gambit apart." "Options?" Rika asked tersely, her eyes narrowing as she considered the implications. She knew there was no turning back. The potential rewards were too great, but the thought of losing her crew weighed heavily on her mind. "Let me analyze it," Kira interjected, her fingers already dancing across her console. Her intense blue eyes were alight with curiosity, the possibility of discovering something new overriding her earlier caution. "I might be able to find a way through." "All right, Kira. You've got this," Rika said, placing her trust in her daughter. They had faced countless dangers together, and Rika knew that Kira's brilliance would guide them through this challenge. "Got it," Kira breathed after a few minutes of tense silence. "It's a complex pattern of gravitational waves, but I think I've found a path through. It won't be easy. We'll have to fly through a series of tight corridors that will test the ship's agility to its limits." "Can you do it?" Rika questioned, her gaze locked on her daughter's face. She could see the determination and excitement warring within Kira, and she felt a surge of pride for the young woman she had become. "Of course I can," Kira replied with a confident grin, her eyes never leaving her console as she plotted a new course. "It'll be one hell of a ride." "Then let's do it," Rika declared, her voice laced with steel. "Everyone, brace for impact, and trust in Kira to guide us through." As Kira initiated the daring maneuver, the ship groaned and shuddered under the strain of the gravitational forces. The crew held their breath, their hearts pounding as they navigated the twisting, treacherous corridors. At times it seemed as if the celestial gambit was only a hair's breadth from being torn apart. But Kira's steady hand guided them through each narrow passage. With a final triumphant burst of speed, the celestial gambit emerged from the anomaly unscathed. The bridge erupted into cheers, the relief and exhilaration of their success washing over them like a tidal wave. Rika looked at her daughter, her heart swelling with pride. "Kira, that was incredible!" Rika exclaimed, clapping her on the shoulder. "Thanks, Mom," Kira replied, a broad grin spreading across her face. "But we're not out of the woods yet. There's still so much to discover out here, and who knows what other challenges we'll face." "Whatever they are, we'll face them together," Rika said firmly, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We've come too far to back down now. Let's see what secrets the void has in store for us." And with that, the celestial gambit continued its journey, forging a path through the darkness and into the unknown. The cold, distant light of a solitary star bathed the bridge of the celestial gambit in an eerie glow as Rika Solaris watched the ship's navigation display flicker with previously uncharted coordinates. She couldn't help but feel the gravity of the situation, and yet her heart raced with anticipation of the unknown. "Captain, we're being hailed," Cassia Vale, the ship's communications officer, announced, snapping Rika from her thoughts. "Patch it through," Rika ordered, her voice steady despite the gnawing curiosity within her. A holographic image materialized before them, revealing the enigmatic figure of Elias Bane, his long white hair falling around his piercing dark eyes. His gaze seemed to slice through the void itself, leaving no room for deceit or secrets. "Captain Solaris," Elias began, his voice like silk. "Your crew's impressive display in navigating that gravitational anomaly has caught my attention. You are venturing into dangerous territory, and I believe my guidance may be of assistance." Rika narrowed her eyes, wariness creeping into her thoughts. "What's the catch, Elias? We don't know each other, and people don't just offer help without wanting something in return." "True, Captain," Elias admitted, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "But let's just say that your journey has piqued my interest, and the archivists have a vested interest in preserving the balance of the multiverse. Consider this an investment in our shared future." Rika weighed her options, her instincts battling against the potential risks and rewards of accepting Elias's offer. Finally, she made up her mind. "All right, we'll take your guidance. But if you betray us or endanger my crew, our alliance ends. Understood?" "Perfectly," Elias replied, the smile never leaving his face. "I see great potential in your daughter Kira. With proper training, she could become an invaluable asset in navigating the treacherous expanse ahead." "Are you sure about this?" Kira whispered to her mother, doubt and fear tugging at her heart. "Kira, I trust your abilities," Rika reassured her, meeting her worried eyes. "But I'll be watching Elias closely, and if anything feels off, we end it." "Very well. I accept your terms," Elias said as he began transmitting a wealth of information to the ship's systems. The Celestial Gambit's database hummed with new knowledge, its depths now concealing the secrets of space travel and quantum mechanics. Now, let us begin. Over the following weeks, Elias Bane pushed Kira to her limits, delving into the intricacies of wormholes, tachyon particles, and temporal anomalies. Her mind raced as she absorbed the complex concepts, each new idea opening doors to possibilities she had never before fathomed. Even when exhaustion threatened to overtake her, Kira remained driven by the desire to protect those she loved and the hope that she could make a difference. "Kira, you're adapting remarkably quickly," Elias praised, his voice echoing through the virtual simulation chamber where they trained. "You have a natural aptitude for this, but more importantly, you possess an unquenchable curiosity that will serve you well." "Thank you," Kira replied, wiping sweat from her brow as she marveled at the simulated starscape around her. Deep down, she knew Elias was right. Her thirst for understanding had led her here, and now it would be the key to unlocking her full potential. "Remember, Kira," Elias continued, his eyes locked on hers, "the secrets of the multiverse are vast and unfathomable, but with the right tools and knowledge, you can navigate the most treacherous of paths. Trust yourself and trust your instincts." As Kira processed Elias's words, she felt a newfound confidence surging within her. With every challenge they faced, she knew she was one step closer to fulfilling her destiny. And as the Celestial Gambit continued its perilous journey through uncharted space, Kira Solaris stood ready, her brilliance shining like a beacon in the darkness. The inky black void swirled with stars like diamonds on a cosmic canvas as the celestial gambit tore through the silence of space. Kira Solaris, still reeling from her recent training with Elias Bane, could feel the hum of the ship's engines reverberate through the soles of her boots as she stood at the helm, her fingers dancing across the console. "Kira, we've got company!" Rika Solaris, her sister and captain, shouted, pointing toward the viewscreen where a squadron of sleek, sinister ships appeared, emerging from the unstable quantum gateway that loomed before them. The Infinite Corsairs had found them. "Plot an evasive course," Rika ordered tersely, her eyes narrowing as she assessed the approaching threat. "We can't let them catch us." "Understood," Kira replied, her mind racing as she deftly input a series of commands to alter their trajectory. They'd have to rely on cunning and skill to outmaneuver these hostile pursuers. "Can we use the gateways to our advantage?" Cassia Vale, the ship's communications officer and navigator, asked, her green eyes reflecting the glow of her console. "Perhaps," Kira mused, recalling some of the advanced techniques she'd learned from Elias. "But they're unpredictable, and we risk getting lost or worse." Rika clenched her jaw, weighing the risks. "We don't have much choice. Do what you can, Kira." As the distance between the Celestial Gambit and the Infinite Corsairs rapidly closed, Cassia furrowed her brow, focusing on the enemy's transmissions. She had a hunch there might be something hidden within. "Captain, I've detected a pattern in their comms," Cassia announced, excitement coloring her voice. "I believe it reveals a weakness in their defenses." "Share your findings," Rika commanded, her gaze never leaving the viewscreen. "From what I can decipher, it seems their shield generators are vulnerable to a specific frequency. If we can target that frequency with a concentrated burst, we might be able to disable their shields temporarily," Cassia explained, her fingers flying over her console as she extracted the crucial data. "Kira, think you can handle that?" Rika asked, her eyes shining with steely resolve. "Absolutely," Kira replied, her confidence surging. She synchronized the ship's weapons to the specified frequency and aimed for the lead Corsair vessel. "Firing in 3, 2, 1. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the Celestial Gambit, striking the enemy ship with pinpoint accuracy. The Corsair vessel shuddered as its shields flickered and failed, leaving it exposed and vulnerable. "Great shot, Kira," Rika cheered, her expression fierce. "Cassia, keep analyzing their transmissions for any additional weaknesses. We need every advantage we can get." "Understood, Captain," Cassia nodded, her focus unwavering as she delved deeper into the secrets hidden within the enemy's communications. As the battle raged on, Kira expertly wove the Celestial Gambit through the chaotic maelstrom of unstable quantum gateways, relying on her newfound knowledge to stay one step ahead of the relentless Infinite Corsairs. With each daring maneuver, Kira felt the weight of responsibility upon her shoulders, but also a growing sense of purpose. "Remember, Kira," Alias's words echoed in her mind, "trust yourself and trust your instincts." And so, she did. A holographic star map flickered before Rika Solaris, its constellations wavering like a cosmic mirage. She traced her finger through the projected wormholes, each marked with a telltale swirl of energy. Her scarred face was lit by the glow of the display, casting shadows that seemed to dance with every pulse of the ship's engines. "Kira, I know it's been a rough journey so far," Rika said, her voice soft but resolute. "But we can't let the Corsairs control these gateways. We need help." Kira nodded, her eyes locked on the star map as she calculated their next move. "I agree, Captain. We'll need more than just our own skills and knowledge to navigate this labyrinth." "Then let's find some allies," Rika decided, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her loyal crew. "Cassia, any leads on who might have valuable information about these gateways?" "Actually, yes," Cassia replied, bringing up another holographic screen filled with data. "I've identified a group of renegade scientists. They call themselves the Quantum Pariahs. They've been conducting clandestine research on the gateways for years. Rumor has it, they're not exactly fans of the Infinite Corsairs either." "Sounds promising," Rika mused, studying the information displayed before her. "Establish contact with them, Cassia. Let's see if they're willing to join forces." "Understood, Captain," Cassia confirmed, tapping away at her console as she sent out a carefully encrypted message to the elusive group. As they waited for a response, the Celestial Gambit plunged deeper into the labyrinth of wormholes, guided by Kira's steady hand and newfound abilities. The void beyond the ship's hull shimmered and warped, revealing ghostly echoes of parallel universes and fractured timelines. "Captain, look at this," Kira whispered, her voice filled with awe. "These reflections, they're like windows into alternate realities." "Stay focused, Kira," Rika cautioned, her heart pounding in her chest as she witnessed the impossible sight surrounding them. "But remember these glimpses. They could be clues to understanding the nature of the gateways." "Understood, Captain," Kira replied, her mind racing as she catalogued each haunting vision. "Captain," Cassia announced, her voice tinged with excitement, "I've received a response from the quantum pariahs. They're willing to meet us, and they have information that could be vital to our mission." "Excellent," Rika said, a fierce determination burning in her eyes. "Set a course for their coordinates, Cassia. We'll show the Infinite Corsairs that they're not the only ones who can master the secrets of the quantum gateways." "Course plotted and locked, Captain," Cassia confirmed, her fingers dancing across her console as the Celestial Gambit's engines roared to life. As the ship hurtled towards its fateful rendezvous, Rika couldn't help but feel the weight of responsibility bearing down upon her and her crew. But alongside that burden was a sense of hope and a growing conviction that together they would reclaim control of the quantum gateways and protect the fragile balance of the multiverse. Tendrils of purple and green energy danced around the Celestial Gambit as it navigated the labyrinthine expanse of wormholes. Rika Solaris stood at the helm, her grip on the console white-knuckled as the ship hurtled through the unstable gateways. "Captain, we're approaching the rendezvous point with the quantum pariahs," Cassia announced, her voice steady despite the swirling vortex that enveloped them. "Good," Rika replied, her heart pounding in anticipation. "Prepare to exit the wormhole on my mark." "Understood, Captain." Elias Bane appeared at Rika's side, his long white hair whipping around him as if caught in an invisible storm. His dark eyes held a mixture of determination and sorrow that seemed to weigh heavily upon him. "Captain Solaris," he began, his voice barely audible above the cacophony of the wormhole. "There is something I must reveal to you before we meet with our new allies." Rika glanced at him, noting the gravity of his expression. "What is it, Elias?" "Before we proceed, I must share my personal experience with the quantum gateways." Elias paused, taking a deep breath. "You see, I once had a family, a wife and a daughter, who were lost to me due to the unpredictable nature of these gateways." "Lost?" Rika whispered, feeling the weight of his words. "Indeed," Elias continued, pain etched across his face. "In pursuit of knowledge, I inadvertently exposed them to the dangers of the multiverse. They were swept away, scattered across countless realities, never to be seen again." Rika stared at him, her chest tightening with empathy. "I'm so sorry, Elias." "Thank you, Captain. But my tragedy serves as a reminder of what is at stake. I have dedicated my life to protecting the secrets of the multiverse, so that no one else will suffer the same fate." "Your determination is admirable, Elias," Rika said softly, "and we will do everything in our power to ensure that your sacrifices were not in vain." "Captain!" Cassia's voice pierced the solemn moment. "We've just received an urgent transmission from our contact within the quantum pariahs." "Put it through, Cassia." Rika braced herself for whatever news awaited them. "Rika Solaris, this is Dr. Eris Vaughn." The message crackled through the ship's speakers. "I regret to inform you that Mara Kestrel has infiltrated our ranks, and our former ally," the message cut out for a second before resuming with urgency, "has betrayed us to the Infinite Corsairs. You must change course immediately. They are closing in on your position." "Damn it," Rika snarled, slamming her fist against the console. "Cassia, plot a new course. Evasive maneuvers. We need to get ahead of the Corsairs." "New course plotted and locked, Captain," Cassia responded, her fingers flying across the console as the Celestial Gambit veered off its trajectory. "Engage maximum thrusters," Rika ordered, her heart racing with adrenaline. "We cannot let them catch us." As the Celestial Gambit sped away from the rendezvous point, Rika's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. Betrayal stung like a venomous bite, but she knew there was no time to dwell on it now. They had a mission to complete, allies to protect, and a ruthless enemy to outwit. "Stay focused, and stay alive," she whispered to herself, her resolve hardening like steel. That's all that matters now. Beneath the pulsating glow of a quantum gateway's swirling vortex, Kira Solaris stood at her engineering console, her hands trembling with the weight of responsibility. The betrayal had shaken her to the core, and she couldn't help but question her own ability to protect her crewmates. She stared down at the quantum calculations, feeling their complexity taunt her. Kira, we need you focused. Rika's voice cut through her thoughts, sharp as a razor. There's no room for hesitation now. We're counting on you. Right, Captain, Mom, Kira replied, trying to mask her uncertainty. Standing tall, she inhaled deeply and closed her eyes, allowing herself a single moment of vulnerability before steeling her resolve. Good. Now let's get ready to face Mara and her corsairs, Alias Bane interjected, his dark eyes burning with determination. We can navigate these gateways and use them to our advantage. As Kira listened to Elias's confident words, something within her began to shift. Her fear started to dissolve, replaced by a newfound conviction that surged like an electrical current through her veins. With each beat of her heart, she felt her connection to the multiverse deepen, a sense of understanding wash over her. All right, Kira said, her voice steady and strong. Let's put an end to this. Everyone, prepare for the final confrontation, Rika commanded, her gaze sweeping across the crew. Each of you knows your role. Now it's time to show the infinite corsairs what we're made of. Captain, the corsairs have already entered the gateway, Cassia warned, her fingers dancing across the navigation console. We must act quickly if we want to stay ahead of them. Understood, Rika nodded. Kira, are you ready? More than ever, Kira replied, her eyes blazing with determination. Then let's do this. The celestial gambit hurtled through the quantum gateway, its hull shuddering as it pierced the boundaries between realities. The crew braced themselves for the chaotic battleground that awaited them. Multiple realities converging, Cassia shouted above the cacophony of alarms. I've never seen anything like this. Stay focused on our position, Rika barked, gripping the captain's chair with white knuckles. We need to outmaneuver them in this maze of realities. Kira, can you help us navigate this? Elias asked, his voice urgent yet steady. Kira took a deep breath and closed her eyes, allowing her newfound understanding of the multiverse to guide her. Yes, she whispered confidently, her fingers flying across the console as she plotted their course. Captain, I'm detecting Mara Kestrel's ship just ahead of us, Cassia reported, her voice tense. Good, we have them in our sights, Rika said, her eyes narrowing. All hands, prepare for battle. As the celestial gambit weaved through the shifting realities, Kira felt a surge of energy coursing through her. This was her moment, her destiny. She would reunite her splintered crew and restore balance to the multiverse, no matter the cost. The air crackled with quantum energy as Kira stood at the epicenter of the chaotic battleground, her hands outstretched, blue eyes ablaze. In that moment, she felt an overwhelming connection to the multiple realities swirling around her. Her crew was scattered across these fractured planes, each one fighting for their lives against Mara Kestrel and the infinite corsairs. Kira, we need you! Rika's voice rang out in her mind, the urgency palpable. Rika, hold on! Kira shouted, her voice echoing through the void. She envisioned her crew, picturing them united once more. As her newfound powers surged through her, the splintered realities seemed to bend to her will. Captain, the crew is reassembling. Cassia's voice sounded both relieved and amazed. It's like they're being pulled together by some unseen force. Kira, Alias said, his voice filled with awe. You did it. But there was no time for celebration. Kira could sense Mara Kestrel's presence, her malicious intent seeping into every reality. She clenched her fists and focused her power, ready to end this battle once and for all. Prepare for a final assault, Rika commanded, her voice resolute. This ends now. Understood, Captain, replied Alias, his fingers dancing across the console to activate the Celestial Gambit's weapon systems. Captain, I've locked onto Mara Kestrel's ship, Cassia reported, her voice tense but steady. Fire! Rika roared, her determination fierce. As the Celestial Gambit unleashed its powerful assault, Kira reached deep within herself, drawing upon her newfound abilities to manipulate the quantum gateways. She felt the fabric of reality tremble beneath her touch, and with a final surge of effort, she sealed off the gateways, obliterating Mara Kestrel and her corsairs in the process. Captain, it's over, Alias breathed, his voice a mixture of exhaustion and relief. Mara Kestrel has been defeated, and the quantum gateways are sealed. Rika let out a shuddering breath, her eyes glistening with unshed tears as she looked around at her reunited crew. Kira, you did it. Mom, we did it together, Kira replied softly, her heart swelling with pride. In the aftermath of their harrowing adventure, the crew of the Celestial Gambit was forever changed. As they set course for home, they found solace in the knowledge that they had preserved the sanctity of the multiverse and prevented an apocalyptic war. Captain Solaris, Elias said, his voice somber but hopeful. I believe this marks the beginning of a new era for us all. Rika nodded, her gaze drifting to the stars beyond their viewports. Indeed, a time for healing and rebuilding, but also a time for exploration and discovery. Here's to new horizons, Kira murmured, her eyes shining with the promise of endless possibilities. New horizons, Rika echoed, her voice filled with determination. Together, they turned their sights toward the vast expanse of the universe that awaited them, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.